Hello everyone, welcome to Film Junk. My name is Sean.
My name is Jay.
And my name is Frank.
And on this week's episode, it's a big one. We've been waiting for this one. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, directed by Milos Forman. And I'm going to give you a plot synopsis as always. A rebellious convict is sent to a psychiatric hospital for evaluation in 1963 Oregon and encourages his docile companions to take more control of their lives and defy the tyrannical head nurse. This movie is one of three movies to win the Big Five at the Oscars. Do you guys know what the other
five?
two are?
Oh, Silence of the Lambs?
Yep, that's one of them.
And Gorky's Place?
No.
A Man for All Seasons?
No. It happened one night. Like all classic Hollywood stories, you know, nobody wanted to make this movie. Everyone said no until United Artists said yes. So, and then it was a huge hit.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Michael Douglas won the Academy Award as producer. When you get your trivia, what did Michael Douglas win the Oscar for? It's not what you think.
They're getting in everything.
When I started my VHS collection, this was in probably like the first 10 or 15 movies I purchased. But strangely enough, never owned it on DVD, Blu-ray, or 4K, so go figure.
So you watched it on VHS?
I did not. I purchased it on iTunes digitally, but Frank, give us the background, man.
Well, it is number 14 on my top 100 movies of all time. Obviously, there was the pressure of, you say you love this movie, you talk about classitosis, all these things. I was a little worried, specifically about some of the other patients at the hospital and how I would feel about that now. It actually held up a lot better than I thought it would. I liked it about as much as I ever have.
She might have been 15 when you get that little red beaver right up there. Crazy at all.
Fucking pussy, Doc.
I hear what you say.
My relationship with it changes over time. I resonate with different characters, and I get something a little different out of it, depending on how old I am when I watch it.
What about you, Jay?
I have no idea when I saw Cuckoo's Nest. It could have been high school, because I think maybe we even read Cuckoo's Nest in high school.
Referring to the 1962 novel by Ken Kesey or Casey.
Gracie.
I am also a fan of the film. I think it's just really watchable. I do think it's Jack Nicholson's best performance.
You know what I mean? Is that it? Is that crazy?
He's got it. You know, all the stories about his generosity acting, and there's some asides about things like tricks he pulled and small stuff he did. When he's talking to that doctor, he
What it says here. What is that?
hits a fly on the desk.
What is violence?
And there was no fly there at all. He just did it to mess with that guy while he's doing the performance and stuff like that.
Jack is always doing something to keep you off base.
I want to thank my fellow nominees.
So you start off and you find out pretty quickly that, you know, he was accused of statutory rape.
She was 15 years old, going on 35, Doc.
Well, he wasn't accused of it. He was charged with it.
Yeah.
It. So I feel like
and
that's
admits to it, I would say.
slightly different sensibility in 1975. I feel like watching it now, you're already kind of like, okay, not really on this guy's side.
Additionally, the fact that it's, I think, only a couple years before Polanski has his statutory rape in Jack Nicholson's pool.
I didn't know it was in his pool. It's in Jack Nicholson's pool.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Another day, another $50,000.
There are some things in it that I won't say don't hold up, but are the starting point for interesting conversations, especially surrounding Nurse Ratched.
Good morning, Miss Ratched.
She's not as much of a villain as I remembered. At least the last 2 times I've watched it.
She's probably on some AFI list of best movie villains or whatever, and people think of her that way.
Well, it looks like you all hated me so much that you've given me this award for it, and I'm loving every minute of it.
But when you are watching it, at least for the first half of the movie for sure, she seems pretty reasonable. And makes me wonder if part of the perception of her as a villain is just because you like Jack Nicholson so much that you're like, why is she harsh in his vibe, you know? Like,
I'd like to thank Jack Nicholson, whose professionalism and capacity for getting into his role made being in a mental institution like being in a mental institution.
obviously there's reasons for keeping things calm and having routines. I kind of get some of that stuff, but then, you know, obviously you have the other side of it where it's like everything's white and like it's this very old school way of dealing with mental health.
I've never really identified with Jack Nicholson's character watching this movie. I've maybe more aspired that I was more like him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have.
He just did the chewing gum thing.
Now I kind of identify a bit more with Nurse Ratched to some degree. And
well, I thought you would love her because, you know, you love rules and order and
they're vandalizing, they're stealing.
Oh, that was a good point.
They're licking knives. I didn't like that. I didn't like that vibe starting off with the turtles. I thought that was a bad way to start a movie for kids.
You're busted.
You know you're getting old when you're like starting to think, you know what, Nurse Ratched is a lot more attractive than I remember her being when I was younger. But
Lily Tomlin was supposed to play Ratched originally.
Leave me the fuck alone!
When Jack Nicholson is strangling her, definitely some Total Recall vibes.
Yeah.
Put those side by side. That is a meme, dude.
Yeah, I think in general in the movie, up until the Billy suicide moment, that's where she becomes the villain. That's the first time I can think of where she acts with like malice.
Wasn't that the first time you tried to commit suicide?
I don't think she knows he's going to kill himself as a result, but she's trying to make him feel bad and also by proxy make Jack Nicholson feel bad about what he did. And I think that's where she rightfully becomes the villain of the movie.
At least she feels like she's starting down that path, like when he's trying to get the votes to watch the baseball game.
Okay, I want to see the hands. Come on.
And she just kind of shuts it down when it's a bit of a gray area, whether, you know, he was following the rules or got the votes in time or whatever, but like feels like she should have given in there.
If I was going to give her the benefit of the doubt in that situation, it's that the whole point for her there is to point out to him that there's more people there than just who he sees and who he talks to.
I want that television set turned on right now!
She's using it to make a point.
Putting the baseball game on? What's the big deal?
The World Series, I don't know, back in 75, but now it's 8 o'clock. I assume it was a 7:30 or at an earliest 7 o'clock start. Some people go to bed at that time. Like if it's on and people are making noise, like it disrupts the hospital. So I can see cases where you wouldn't want to do that for sure.
You're busted.
She just seems to really want them to remain in the state of needing her help and being complacent and understanding that they are mentally unwell.
I think that's one of my favorite parts of the movie or theme. Perception versus reality and how easy it is to reframe someone as sane versus crazy. And I know the first time I watched it in my 20s, my favorite scene by far was when they go fishing and they're introduced as the doctors.
This is Dr. Cheswick, Dr. Tabor, Dr. Fredrickson, Dr. Scanlon, famous Dr. Scanlon, Mr. Harding, Dr. Bibbett, Dr. Martini, and Dr. Seafeld.
I mean, it's just interesting because like it feels like it's a little bit of a cheat maybe in the movie, that it's like it gives them this moment of like, okay, they're able to get out and be human beings and experience something new, and nothing bad happens. Something about it feels like it's trying to be a little too Hollywood-esque, I guess, for me. Nothing bad happens.
Cheswick! Come here, quick!
Don't boil a kettle on a boat.
While the Dream Team is clearly inspired by by this, while they're on their way to a baseball game, they get abandoned or their doctor gets assaulted. And they have to navigate the city away from the hospital, and Christopher Lloyd is in it as well.
Maybe he didn't really want to take us.
Can you blame him? I wouldn't want to walk into a public place with a bunch of schizophrenics.
I've never agreed with that diagnosis.
Well, I could recommend a much darker companion piece.
Maybe you realize that you're not eating too long and we should give you some food. Then this is a question whether you agree to drink this food or are you going to put through a tube to your nose, into your stomach.
You watch Tiddicate Follies, and not that that's representative of every institution at the time, but I think it's probably a good general idea of how dark a lot of those places were and how terribly the patients were treated. If you want to watch something and be completely depressed and shocked by how an institution can treat its patients, watch Tiddicate Follies. In terms of moments in the film that work emotionally, when Cheswick is taken away for his shock treatment, I think is very effective. I would say mainly because of Jack Nicholson's response to it. But it also reminds me of Strange Brew.
Beauty, take it up to 30 this time.
It's wild how many character actors came out of this movie. Like it is a stacked cast. How underplayed Danny DeVito is in this, where he just does that little pursing his lips thing, and he's just really quiet. And the whole time I was thinking, what is this? He looks like something. I can't put it together. Who does he look like? He looks like Ad Rock from the Beastie Boys in like the 80s.
And one of my favorite things about the movie, especially for at the time, is casting real psychiatrists and doctors.
Milos had the idea that Dean Brooks, Dr. Brooks, could actually play the part in the movie.
I thought he was kidding.
That doctor and other people at the hospital insisted if they're going to film there, real patients need to participate in the background or help with production.
We had many of them who wanted to work on the film, and I think we had something like 89 on the payroll.
Which to me would be a direct contradiction to how things are presented in the hospital. Like Jay said, that any joy or excitement is removed immediately. It felt like it was an opposite approach. Like this is something new and exciting. It doesn't say whether that was effective or whether it helped or hurt, but it didn't feel like a negative thing from that doctor's perspective.
I insisted that in no way would we ever do anything that would denigrate a patient. They gave me that word, and they kept that.
While we're kind of on the mental health aspect of the movie, when they're evaluating McMurphy and whether they think he's psychotic or not, do they keep him, do they send him back, all those conversations. A lot of people say we can help him or we can't. Not one person says how, ever. They never say what they think. I think this would help him, or we should do this. It's just they can do things. They are never concerned with the specifics of a patient's well-being, which I think is very interesting.
I think that's the core of what McMurphy brings to the group is the institution dehumanizes the mentally unwell and just treats them all the same, wants to keep them sedated. McMurphy encourages them to be people again. And maybe it's not 100% the correct method, but at least in the time that he spends there, it seems like it brings something out of all of them that you would think would be positive.
This is the bench that was used in the movie.
That's correct.
And the scene between Jack Nicholson and the chief.
The juicy fruit moment is an all-timer.
Juicy fruit.
Possibly greatest product placement of all time, up there with Sweet and Low and Days of Thunder.
I love the score. Jack Nietzsche, which feels like it's way more avant-garde than I would expect.
Is there some theremin in there too? Or is that where you're talking about?
I think that's the saw.
I do like it. I don't know if I love it quite as much as Jay does, or I do appreciate its avant-garde nature, but it's not why I love the movie.
It's not one of those scores you can mosh to in the pit, you know?
That's right.
It's a beautiful looking film too. Haskell Wexler, and apparently Bill Butler came on for a couple days.
Didn't Wexler get fired or something? It seemed like there was a little bit of a controversy there, but I don't know the whole story.
It was the hardest thing I ever done in my life because he was old enough to be my dad, and he was an Academy Award winner, and it just didn't work out.
Our relation started to deteriorate when I found out that he's sharing his frustration with actors. And that, of course, made the actors nervous. And that made the producers nervous. And finally, it made me nervous, you know.
I watched a lot of special features for this recording, and that did not come up.
I was truly devastated. I was saying I felt like committing suicide. I felt horrible.
I don't think we've talked enough about Brad Dourif. I think he's really good, and stutters have never worked in a movie ever, except for this. I think it's the best stutter ever committed to film. It feels so believable.
A lot of his career after this was arguably typecast as playing like creepier characters.
Someone's got to cut Nest together with Exorcist 3.
He is inside with us! He will never get away!
Sean, you were saying that the ending, some people maybe consider a happy ending.
Well, I guess and maybe it's just me, it's possible, but like to me, it feels like it's like a Rocky kind of situation where it's like when you're, a bit of distance from the movie, you just think of it as like this movie was, a happy ending. He came in and he taught all these people, how to overcome their issues, and he won. But not really, because, Billy dies, he gets lobotomized. But you just remember Chief kind of getting out and
he gets lobotomized and then killed.
What?
You're busted.
But I think that's the thing that is in any other movie would be darker, but it feels like a positive thing that the hospitals attempted to extinguish his human spirit, and Chief still kind of sets him free in a different way. Like he would not want to keep living like this. So I think it is like a very interesting, happy ending. I mean, I think it's a complicated ending, but I think it leans into, if not happy, inspiring to some degree.
I do wonder if part of the happy ending thing comes from The Simpsons.
Could be, yeah.
He really needs a girlfriend.
We haven't mentioned Will Sampson as Chief that much, but I do think he's incredible. There's a lot of talk about his casting and how they found him, and he's literally perfect. Another horror sequel connection.
Poltergeist 2.
All I could think was, geez, he is the biggest goddamn Indian I ever saw. That guy is correct for the part.
Did the Chief leave the asylum and then just end up in the Freeling family's orbit?
Who the hell are you?
And convince them that he's a shaman?
What if this guy is like an escapee from the tribal asylum?
When you get to the end, he's like, I've just had enough. Even this place, is starting to feel like a prison. What felt like new and fresh connections are starting to kind of fade a bit. And he's like, I gotta move on. But just the window being open and him falling asleep and him like still having this connection to Billy, kind of wanting him to live like what he would define as living, not necessarily what Billy would, I think is like a really interesting choice. And you're just like, he could just leave. It's over. Leave. And he just can't do it. And I think it makes him very endearing in those moments, especially by the time the movie ends and is what happens to him.
See, the whole passing out thing doesn't totally make sense to me. Like,
yeah, I agree with that.
Like, how long is he going to be in there with her? Like 10 seconds? You know what I mean? Like, it's a little weird.
It's a bit convenient. I've said it before. I have a real problem when in movies characters fall asleep. Like they just fall asleep, and that's the thing that gets them into some situation.
I think in this case it's more symbolic, which obviously pays off with smashing that same window with the sink.
I think they could have leaned into him being drunk a little more maybe and just avoided this feeling that everyone just fell asleep.
That's life in society. Everyone's fucking asleep. The sheeple, dude. No one wants to leave the window. They all could. They don't want to. But if we're going to get to the ending in the sink, does this sink feel completely unnatural to everyone else? I could not find anything on this. If that does not feel like a real sink.
Well, so it's a hydrotherapy fountain, I believe it's called. I was kind of like also confused as to what this thing is, but we see it earlier in the movie because he sprays somebody with it, right?
It feels unnatural then. But it's not just the sink itself. It's not the design of the sink, although it feels like a prop to me in a good way. It's where it is in the room. Like the space between the sink and the wall, it feels like very deliberate that the sink was not in that hospital.
Is it even a sink? I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
I think it's more of a fountain.
It's something that they use to spray down patients that are not cooperating, right? Like it's not there for people to wash themselves like pleasantly. Like
I know, but it's also got 5 different different nozzles and pressures. I'm just keep going. I got to see if this is a real thing. I don't think it is. I think it was designed for the movie.
Well, this is a prop. It is the replica of the original hydrotherapy machine.
It was a good watch. Really enjoyed it. I think the things that, that brought it down a little bit for me is, again, that feeling of like going back and forth of like, is this trying too hard to be funny? Is it trying too hard to be a crowd pleaser? Which is kind of just what you were talking about, Frank. Like it's, for a crowd pleaser, it's very dark. But on the other hand, it's very dark for a crowd pleaser. Like
it's deservedly beloved and one of the best movies ever made.
Okay. What are you guys going to give it out of 5 stars?
I will give it a 5.
I'm a big 5.
I'm giving it a light 5. just for you, Frank. It's great.
Something's up.
Hello. Excuse me for interrupting, but Mr. Nicholson has to come with me now.
Thank you. Thank you.